Well, good evening, District 3 Toastmasters. I'm Past International Director and 2026 District Leadership Committee Chairperson, Distinguished Toastmaster Tim Swearingen. Serving as our Zoom Master this evening is District Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Peter Zalazar. And yes, we bring out the big guns to help you with the Candidate Showcase. It's our pleasure to welcome you to the 2026 District 3 Candidate Showcase. Thank you for taking the time to join us as we hear from the outstanding Toastmasters who are seeking to serve our district in one of the 8 elected district leadership roles. Tonight's showcase provides you, our members, with an opportunity to hear directly from the candidates for district office as they respond to questions submitted by District 3 members. This is an opportunity to better understand each candidate's vision, leadership approach, and commitment to serving our clubs, areas, division, and members across District 3. Some things to be aware of for this session. The event is being recorded and will be posted to the District 3 website in the next few days. Chat has been disabled and all participants have been muted. Candidates will be promoted to panelists when it's their turn to present. Candidates will be presented by office. We'll start with the division directors, then hear from the 2 club growth director candidates, then our program quality director candidate, and finish with our district director candidate. All questions were submitted by District 3 members prior to this event. Candidates have not received the questions in advance. All candidates for a given office are given equal time and opportunity to respond. During the Q&A period, we'll repeat questions if needed. However, we'll be limited in any sort of clarification we can provide to any specific question. Based on best practices from the District Leadership Committee interviews, candidates have been asked to signal when they're ready for the next question to prevent interruptions. You may hear phrases such as "next question, please," in this instance. Candidates may decide if they'd like to provide a statement, an opening statement, a closing statement, or no statement at all. If they decide to provide a statement, it should not exceed 2 minutes. We'll start again with our division director candidates, and we'll spend 5 minutes each with each one of them. For the office of Division A Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Colleen McNeese has been nominated. Welcome, Colleen.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day.
Colleen, would you like to provide an opening statement, a closing statement, or no statement, and just jump into the questions?
No statement, sir.
Okay. Colleen, leadership involves many competing priorities. How do you identify what matters most in the division director role, and how do you maintain focus on that priority while managing other responsibilities? I'll repeat the question. Leadership involves many competing priorities. How do you identify what matters most in the division director role, and how do you maintain focus on that priority while managing other responsibilities?
Thank you, Tim. How do I manage that? People are the #1 priority. The area directors, the Toastmasters in general, and that's sometimes going to be on fire. Like when I was working disasters for 9/11, Katrina, Sandy, you had to prioritize but stay focused on the people. And that's my goal with being a division director. I want to focus on the area directors. How can we bring in new blood, new talent, new skills? My method is always to lead from behind, to guide others, to help educate. That comes from my teaching background as the director of religious education for 20 years for the Catholic Church. Mentoring others is so important, and having SMART goals to track and progress throughout the year. That's my strategic planning for this role. Next question.
What role has mentorship played in your leadership development, and how do you maintain independent judgment when advice does not align with your own assessment? I'll repeat the question. What role has mentorship played in your leadership development, and how do you maintain independent judgment when advice does not align with your own assessment?
It's a great question. Mentorship is the key to everything. It aligns your skills. Some people have career growth opportunities and they want to host social events or use digital platforms like Meetup. That's part of the strategy to get and retain younger members, in my mind, to implement a speedy mentorship program, pairing people up. Even as a division director, I hope to pair up with others that have done it before to help guide me in where I'm going to go, what I need to do, and foster that relationship, as well as having strong membership from the bottom up for all of us to keep everything fast paced and using digital marketing and social media in the mentorship. Learning new things from the younger generation is what I'm always learning. And so I hope that will help me focus on what I need to do as a division director. Next question, please.
What do you believe is your greatest strength that you bring to the division director role? How will you use this strength to benefit the members of our district? I'll repeat the question. What do you believe is your greatest strength that you bring to the division director role? How will you use this strength to benefit the members of our district?
My greatest strengths. Asking questions, looking for answers, supporting others. Like I said, I like to lead from the behind, and I want to empower our area directors so they can empower the clubs. And that would be one of my greatest strengths. When I was working in the FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, they said that was one of my greatest strengths, was to explore different ideas. There are 7 at least ways to do one thing. That doesn't mean any one of them are wrong. And to negotiate with staff that are elderly as well as younger generations and find that happy medium to blend them together. And let's try some new things. We've got to evolve. We all did evolve with COVID. So where are we going to go next? I want new ideas, new experiences, and I hope being a division director will provide me with those opportunities. Next question, please.
And your last question, as a district officer, how do you approach communication with members, leaders, and stakeholders? How will you decide which communication methods to use in different situations? I'll repeat the question. As a district officer, how do you approach communication with members, leaders, and stakeholders? How will you decide which communication methods to use in different situations?
Thank you, Tim. Thinking about that. Like many organizations, Toastmaster creates this strategic plan of how to communicate. And there's so many new opportunities in the market, skills, and I don't know everything for sure. I think sometimes we have an outdated format in Toastmasters of our communication styles, particularly with younger employees. There's workplace topics. You've got to be flexible for corporate clubs using modern communication, presentations, storytelling. What are the members' needs? That's the key, is getting into what is their, it's not about me, it's about them. There's things like TikTok I've never used. My grandchildren can teach me, or YouTube. Instead of having the rigid traditional styles that feel a little outdated or irrelevant, maybe we can use a faster paced digital communication to fill those gaps in our communication skills, and using new blood, not the same people in every role year after year. I want to find the new members, find that new fiery person and put them, hey, try this, teach me. I hope that answers your questions. I look forward to being a division director and learning new things myself. Back to you, Tim.
Colleen, Colleen, thank you for participating in our showcase this evening and for your very thoughtful responses to the questions submitted by our members. For the office of Division B Director, distinguished Toastmaster Malcolm High has been nominated. Welcome, Malcolm.
Good evening.
Awesome. Malcolm, would you like to provide an opening statement, a closing statement, or no statement and just jump into questions?
Now I provide an opening statement.
Go ahead.
Fellow Toastmasters, in any interaction I have related to Toastmasters, whether it be a club meeting, TLI, a speech contest, or even the youth leadership program that I've been conducting for 12 years, the member always comes first. As we all know, the mission of a Toastmasters club is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. The development of the member is paramount. It is my desire to share my 20 years of experience and knowledge with a dedicated team of area directors so that together we can provide the necessary resources and support to clubs to help them become strong and successful, focusing on member acquisition, member retention, and member engagement. If members achieve their goals, clubs will be better positioned to achieve their goals. I am Malcolm High, and it will be an honour to serve the clubs and Toastmasters Division to be as their director next year. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Malcolm. Malcolm, leadership involves many competing priorities. How do you identify what matters most in the division director role? And how do you maintain focus on that priority while managing other responsibilities? I'll repeat the question. Leadership involves many competing priorities. How do you identify what matters most in the division director role? And how do you maintain focus on that priority while managing other responsibilities?
Thank you, Tim. I think that managing multiple responsibilities is something that you have to do every day of your life. And you really have to prioritize what is the most important at the time. When it comes to Toastmasters, I think that focusing on, as I said, focusing on the member is the most important part of Toastmasters. And with that in mind, I would always look at what the member needs, look at what the situation is, and then manage upwards from there. Next question.
What role has mentorship played in your leadership development, and how do you maintain independent judgment when advice does not align with your own assessment? I'll repeat the question. What role has mentorship played in your leadership development, and how do you maintain independent judgment when advice does not align with your own assessment?
Mentorship has played a very large part in my development in Toastmasters. Very early on in my career as a Toastmaster, I had Hallie Adams, past district governor, as my mentor. Even at a club level, I'm still mentoring people. I've been mentoring people for the last 15 to 20 years. And I think that the key to developing any individual in Toastmasters, any new member, is to provide them with a mentor the day they join Toastmasters. It might seem like a basic concept, easy concept to be a Toastmaster, but there's a lot of complex issues, especially when it comes to navigating pathways. And to have a mentor guide you through the first 3 to 6 months and maybe the first level of pathways is very, very important. I think it helps a lot in member retention. I still mentor people at a club level. I was even a mentor for one of the division directors last year. So I think mentoring is an extremely important part of Toastmasters. Next question.
And Malcolm, this will be your last question. What do you believe is your greatest strength that you bring to the division director role? And how will you use this strength to benefit the members of our district? I'll repeat the question. What do you believe is your greatest strength that you bring to the division director role, and how will you use this strength to benefit the members of our district?
Thank you, Tim. As I said earlier, I have probably 20 years of experience as a Toastmaster. I've learned a lot in that time. I won't say I know everything. I certainly don't. Every day I come to Toastmasters and find out something different. I think pouring all the knowledge I have and using that as my resource is my greatest strength. I'm a very good listener. I will listen to any situation. I will talk to people, and I'll always make an informed decision. I don't make rash decisions. If there's something I'm not sure about, I'll always seek out help from a mentor or someone senior to me in order to make an informed decision. By profession, I'm an accountant, and I'm sort of fairly analytical in my style. So I'll always consider all options of a situation before making a decision. I think it's also very helpful when I'm looking at the various distinguished performance reports. The numbers there speak to me, and I am very adept at being able to interpret those and see how a club's doing, how a club's going. And there's a lot of information there. And I think I've always found that very helpful in making decisions and seeing what's going on around the district.
5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Malcolm, thank you for participating in our Candidate Showcase and your very thoughtful responses to the questions submitted by our members. For the office of Division C Director, Pathways Level 5, Ramana Sagula has been nominated. Welcome, Ramana.
Good evening, Mr. Tim, DLT Chair, and good evening to my fellow Toastmasters.
Ramana, would you like to provide an opening statement, a closing statement, or no statement, and just jump into the questions?
Thank you, Tim. I would like to provide a closing statement.
Okay. Leadership involves many competing priorities. How do you identify what matters most in the division director role, and how do you maintain focus on that priority while managing other responsibilities? I'll repeat the question. Leadership involves many competing priorities. How do you identify what matters the most in the division director role, and how do you maintain focus on that priority while managing other responsibilities?
Thank you, Tim, for that wonderful question. My experience with CIOs and CTOs has taught me few things. When an issue comes, don't panic. Stay calm. Try to get as much information as you can. Second, adaptability. Anything that might happen, you should be adaptable to the last moment. Second, accountability. You need to make sure decisions that you take you are accountable for it. Focus and the leadership skill. Nothing but protecting your entire team to make sure that they are protected while you're still having an issue, even though you're getting bothered. So to me, focus, ownership, accountability, adaptability, and the team the team orientation is something that I always look at it in.
What role has mentorship played in your leadership development, and how do you maintain independent judgment when advice does not align with your own assessment? I'll repeat the question. What role has mentorship played in your leadership development, and how do you maintain independent judgment when advice does not align with your own assessment?
Thank you, Tim, for another wonderful question. I'll make it in two parts, very simple. First thing, a constant coaching that I received both in my professional career, personal, with my parents and relatives, along with Toastmasters, gave me a thoughtful approach, not to take any hasty decision. Think, step back, and then take a leap. Second, sorry, can you please repeat the question, the second part of the question?
Certainly. How do you maintain independent judgment when advice does not align with your own assessment?
Thank you. This brings up with me a book that I read about 25 years back. It says, when you're in a problem, don't panic, don't scream. Probably take 10 steps back, sit down quietly to understand what happened, what went wrong. Take a decision that you think would be the right. Come forward and make sure you take the decision. You be responsible whether it's a hit or a miss. Definitely, there are people who confuse you. Stay quiet, stay calm. Just take the inputs. Don't get panicked, don't get nervous, or don't get irritated. So those are some of the things that I use in my both professional career and even Toastmaster. Trust me, it made me a wonderful. Thank you. Next question.
And Sunny's, we're going to wrap up questions. This is your opportunity to make a brief closing statement.
Thank you, team. Good evening to my fellow Toastmasters. Hello, District 3, New Mexico, Texas, and again, a very warm welcome to the city of Yuma. It is truly an honor to stand before you today as a candidate for Division Director for Division C. People often ask me, why this role? Because Toastmasters is more than a place to speak. It's a place to lead, to grow, to transform. Every time we show up to a meeting, we demonstrate commitment. Every time we engage in pathways, we lead by example. And we get to know by the notice from the people. And then there's big important thing, mentorship, which is one of the most powerful parts of Toastmasters. It's where we lift each other up, grow together, hold one another, accountable to become better speakers and stronger leaders. That is why I'm running. And my vision is to create a culture of possibility where members feel empowered, clubs thrive, leaders are supported, and where every area director has the tools and confidence to succeed. A division where we dare to dream bigger, speak more boldly, lead with heart. Because when we support one another, we don't just grow individually, we grow together. I would be honored to serve you, to support you, and to help elevate Division C to its highest potential. Together, we can become the leaders we were meant to be. Thank you.
And thank you, my friend, for your participation this evening and your exceptionally thoughtful responses to our members' questions. For the office of Division D Director, Pathways Level 5, Sunny Shea has been nominated. Due to a prior family commitment, Sunny's is unable to join us in person this evening, and his session was pre-recorded last week. Welcome, Sunnies. Would you like to provide an opening statement, a closing statement, or no statement and just jump into the questions?
Thank you, Kim. I would like to have an opening statement.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmaster, this is Sunny. I was nominated to be a Division D Director in 2026 to 2027. I joined Toastmaster for 3 years. Only the first day I learned this is volunteer organization, but however, in the very first day, it changed to be volunteer. I was volunteer to be a humorist. And I still remember the first joke I delivered. We see is most policy in Europe. We see is most policy in Europe. That's Mercy Burger. And in the following time, I'm being the top officer for 3 times, area director for twice, and I also joined 2 clubs. So that's why I'm here. I'm still working on my journey. I want to learn a lot, and I'm still learning. Return control to you, team.
Thank you, Sunnies. I'll go ahead and start the questions. Leadership involves many competing priorities. How do you identify what matters most in the division director role, and how do you maintain focus on that priority while managing other responsibilities? I'll repeat the question. Leadership involves many competing priorities. How do you identify what matters the most in the division director role And how do you maintain focus on that priority while managing other responsibilities?
Thanks, Tim. I would like to say leadership is more like different than management. What I learned from leadership is you want to do and before others, or want to show what you want to do. For example, when just learn from one podcast, you will not say that you will always do like a servant to your family, like say, are you cold? Are you hungry? That's why they trust you. You will not say, it's time to drink. It's too cold. Dress up. You will serve like this one. So that's the kind of leadership I want to say. So overall, to the division director, what I learned is I will try to help them as my family, as my friend. That's my answer.
Thank you. What role has mentorship played in your leadership development, and how do you maintain independent judgment when advice does not align with your own assessment? I'll repeat the question. What role has mentorship played in your leadership development, and how do you maintain independent judgment when advice does not align with your own assessment?
I Thank you, Tim. When I joined Toastmaster, I have a lot of mentors. Some of them is like a cheerleader. Some of them is more like the advisor. They tell me everything. So in the mentorship, what I can learn is be open. Sometimes mentee will work on you, sometimes will not. That's okay. Depends on the chemistry. If you can work well, that's good. If you not work well, maybe all you need to do is deliver what you can help. When time's up, we finish the journey. But if it's good, we can continue. So this is a volunteer organization. We cannot force people. Everybody is volunteer to do. But we still have some obligation to do others. So that's why I reply for this one.
Thank you, Sonnies, for participating in today's Candidate Showcase and for thoughtfully responding to the questions submitted by our members. All right. For the office of Division E Director, Pathways Level 4, Cynthia Williams has been nominated. Welcome, Cynthia.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone.
Would you like to make an opening statement, a closing statement, or no statement and just jump into the questions?
No statement. I want to jump right into the questions.
Outstanding. Cynthia, leadership involves many competing priorities. How do you identify what matters most in the division director role, and how do you maintain focus on that priority while managing other responsibilities? I'll repeat the question. Leadership involves many competing priorities. How do you identify what matters the most in the division director role, and how do you maintain focus on that priority while managing other responsibilities?
Thank you for Tim for the question. For me, it's going to be the priorities will always be growth and membership. Growth being growth of our existing members and obtaining more members in the recruiting. Those are always going to be the top two priorities. How do I maintain that while there's other things that are be going on? You're always going to keep one eye open. I go to a meeting and I see maybe there's a guest, and that guest seems to be very eager. Any guest, we want to invite them. Come back, participate. Hey, do you want to? We're doing table topics. What can you want to join in and participate? Many times they will want to participate. And for our existing members, growth. Hey, how you doing on that pathway? Are you ready to go on to the next level? We really would love to hear another speech from you in the next at our next meeting. Growth, membership. Those are going to be our priorities. And even when there are other things going on, those things I will always keep in my head that anywhere, any meeting that I go to, I'm going to be scoping that out. Next question.
What role has mentorship played in your leadership development? And how do you maintain independent judgment when advice does not align with your own assessment? I'll repeat the question. What role has mentorship played in your leadership development? And how do you maintain independent judgment when advice does not align with your own assessment?
Thank you, Tim. Mentorship has been huge for me in Toastmasters. I never envisioned myself in a leadership role. One mentor that really sticks out for me right now is the one that looked at me and said, I think you would be good for an area director. I would have never imagined myself doing that. They saw something in me and worked with me. And another one that, though I didn't get a long opportunity to work with him, it was Daniel. When I started the area directorship, I told him, I'm scared to death. I'm not going to be able to do this well. And he said, I believe in you. Man did not even know me, but the small time that I had with him was huge. I definitely do miss him. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of that question?
How do you maintain independent judgment when advice does not align with your own assessment?
Okay. We all have our opinions and our advice. I will accept any advice with respect, but at the end of the day, it will be me that will have to make the decision. The next question.
What do you believe is your greatest strength that you bring to the division director role, and how will you use this strength to benefit the members of our district? I'll repeat the question. What do you believe is your greatest strength that you bring to the division director role, and how will you use this strength to benefit the members of our district?
My greatest strength is listening fully with empathy, with my whole being present, not sitting and letting them talk and thinking about what I'm going to say next. When you're fully present with an individual, when they feel like they're really being listened to, that's a great strength. It builds trust. It makes them feel empowered. They also want to be more and more part of the club and a part of the division. So listening with empathy is my greatest strength. Next question.
That'll actually be our last question in the cycle of time we have available. Cynthia, thanks for participating in today's showcase and for your thoughtful responses to the questions submitted by our members. And for all of our division director candidates that are present, go ahead and come on video. And I just want to thank you all for stepping forward to serve the members of our district. I know that you will do great things next year, and the district leadership committee believes in your ability to lead. Thank you for taking this step forward in service, and it'll be our privilege to support you next year. We're going to move on to the office of Club Growth Director, and for that office, 2 names have been placed into nomination. In alphabetical order by last name, Distinguished Toastmaster Randy Caceres, and Pathways Level 5 Ashley Coleman Abatley. As this is a competitive race, the sessions with Randy and Ashley were pre-recorded last week. This allowed us to maintain fairness and consistency for both candidates. Welcome, Randy. Would you like to provide an opening statement, a closing statement, or no statement and just jump into the questions?
Closing statement.
Thank you. When considering the club growth director role, what responsibility do you see as most critical, and how will you ensure sustained focus and follow through throughout the year? I'll repeat the question. When considering the club growth director role, what responsibilities do you see as most critical, and how will you ensure sustained focus and follow through throughout the year?
That's an excellent question, Tim. Thank you for asking. And simple, communication is the key to success. So I will be communicating to the clubs, I'll be communicating to the district, and I'll be communicating to my team on a regular basis. I also feel that it's crucial that we have meetings once a month, which I've seen some of the club growth directors have meetings once a month, and I know things happen, but I'm a big believer in meeting. I'm a big believer in communicating, and I think that's the key. I really think that communication is the key. So I will be constantly communicating with my team. I'll be constantly communicating with the members. And in fact, one of my goals is that I don't want to say it's my goal, but I hope that they know me so much that they kind of get a little sick of it, because I think reminders are the crucial key to success. I really do. And I think that's been the crucial key this year in Division D is communication. So I'm a big fan of communication. I think emailing, I think reminding people, I think letting them know where they're at is a key part of the success if we're going to grow as a district. Next question.
How do you seek guidance or mentorship in your leadership journey, and how do you handle situations where you receive differing advice? I'll repeat the question. How do you seek guidance or mentorship in your leadership journey, and how do you handle situations where you receive differing advice?
That's an excellent question, Tim. You got to go to the people that have been there. That's going to be the key. Going to past district directors, going to people that you trust, going to people that have actually done the role. There's one district director, for example, that's never been club growth director. So obviously, I'm probably not going to go to them. I'm going to go to the people that have done this role, that understand this role, and that have been successful in this role. Because I don't know everything. I don't pretend to know everything, but I'm a big believer of getting the answer. So I'm going to go to the experts. I'm going to go to, for example, Rose. I'm going to go to example, Nancy, the people that have actually done this role. I think is going to be the key to success. And it was a recommendation by many Toastmaster members when I ran for this position. Whatever you do, get past district directors to be your mentor. And I think that's going to be the key to success, getting the people that have done it, know it, and understand it. Next question.
Which leadership strength do you believe will be the most valuable in the club growth director role, and how will you use it to serve the needs of District 3 members? I'll repeat the question. Which leadership strength do you believe will be the most valuable in the club growth director role, and how will you use it to serve the needs of District 3 members?
I think the best way is to lead by example, communicate. And I'm not just talking about communicating through email and phone calls. I'm talking about actually showing people, being part of presentations, being part of TLI, being a part and letting people know, hey, this is my expertise. I've been there. I understand where you're going through as a club officer. This is how you're going to grow your club. I've been in struggling clubs. I know what that's like. I've been in clubs that have been successful, that have been distinguished. I know what that's like. So communication is the key. And I notice from time to time, sometimes you don't see the leader. Sometimes people don't even know who the leader is. So it's very important that they know you. And what better way than to give presentations to the community, give presentations in Toastmaster clubs. Let them know, hey, you're the club growth director, and this is what I offer. I want you to succeed. So that's going to be the crucial, I think, part of success for this role for me is communicating, giving speeches, letting people know who I am and that I'm here to help them. Next question.
Effective district leadership requires clear and timely communication. How do you plan to use different communication channels, such as email, phone, or virtual platforms to stay connected with District 3 members? I'll repeat the question. Effective district leadership requires clear and timely communication. How do you plan to use different communication channels, such as email, phone, or virtual platforms, to stay connected with District 3 members?
Well, I think it's the process of emailing clubs, emailing the district, and not only that, going on Facebook and communicating that way as well. And I have people that are ready to do that, that are ready to serve. Again, one thing that I've learned, whether it's been a club president, whether it's been area director or division director, you can't do anything alone. You need a team. And even if I'm not the biggest expert in Facebook, for example, I know people that are. I know people that communicate. So communication is a big key to success. And if you don't know something, don't be afraid to assign it to someone else that does, someone that can help you, because it takes a team to really be successful, especially in this position in club growth, where we're trying to develop new clubs and also communicating to the community. Let them know, hey, we're here and we're ready to help you become chartered. That's going to be the crucial key to success: communication by email, text, phone calls, whatever it takes to be successful. Next question.
District leaders play a key role in building leadership capability. What approaches will you use to identify, mentor, and encourage members to pursue leadership opportunities? I'll repeat the question. District leaders play a key role in building leadership capability. What approaches will you use to identify, mentor, and encourage members to pursue leadership opportunities?
Thank you for that question, Tim. That's an excellent question. And my answer is by seeing who's involved, seeing who goes to area contests, seeing who's willing to extend their hand and help, seeing what the presidents, the vice president of education, the club officers are doing in the club. And generally you can recognize who is really stepping up to the plate and who is really ready for that next level. And I see it just by people volunteering to participate in conference, participate in area contests, participate in division contests. When I see that, I definitely approach them. And there was actually a club president the other day that I pointed to, and I said, you know what, you'd be a good area director next year. And he's all like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. So just going up to people and just telling them, hey, you're doing a great job, and I see you as a future district leader, as an area director, or I see you as a future division director if they've done a great job as an area director. So it's just recognizing who's put the effort, who hasn't put the effort, who's kind of been laid back, and then going after those people that put the effort. I mean, if they're not putting the effort as area director or club president, then the odds of them really putting the effort at the next level is very unlikely. But there are good club officers that are working hard, putting their sweat and tears into their position, and there are good area directors that I see future division directors, future even trio, and a part of that. I think that is the key, by recognizing who's putting their heart, sweat, and tears into their current position. Next question.
If elected, what do you anticipate will be the most significant challenge in the club growth director role, and how do you plan to address it? I will repeat the question. If elected, what do you anticipate will be the most significant challenge in the club growth director role, and how do you plan to address it?
That's an excellent question. I think the two challenges that I see right now and that are going to continue to be challenges, obviously pathways. And it seems like every year there's a change with pathways, whether it's for the better or for the worse. So that's always a challenge, but reminding people that when they succeed, the club succeeds. That's the benefit of completing a level. Not only does it help you, but it helps the club. Not only can you benefit, but the club can benefit. And not only will it help you from a credit standpoint, but it'll help you as becoming a better speaker, a better leader. So that's one challenge. And then obviously the cost of living. I mean, gas prices are going up, food prices are going up. So that can have an effect on people paying their membership. I've seen it this renewals where a lot of people didn't renew, and it might just be because of the economy and the way it is. So that could be a factor. So how do you address that? By saying, hey, what can we do to ensure that you become a member? Or, hey, continue to come and then you can pay when you can. Encouraging them to come to meetings, because when members don't come to meetings, this can lead to a club not being in good standing. It could lead to a club being suspended club. And an example tonight, one of the clubs that I was going to go to before this meeting, they had to cancel because there was only one other member. So little things like that start to add up. So we have to encourage people to come, even if they're not official members. And just from time to time, if you haven't seen them for a while, give them a call and say, hey, we haven't seen you for a while. A phone call can really do a lot of good. So you'd be surprised. So not forgetting about those members. And if they can't pay right now, that's okay. Continue to come. Continue to be a part of Toastmasters. If you can't afford pathways, that's okay. You can still give speeches. You can get credit later. The most important thing is encouraging people and not giving up on them. Next question.
How do you plan to promote Toastmasters to external audiences, such as corporate leaders and community organizations, while aligning with the mission and values of the organization? I'll repeat the question. How do you plan to promote Toastmasters to external audiences, such as corporate leaders and community organizations, while aligning with the mission and values of the organization?
That's an excellent question, Tim. I think it starts with developing a role that a few years ago District 3 had, which was the Impacts Events Chair, having events for the community, inviting those corporate companies, inviting organizations to come to those events, and really promoting something that not only is going to teach them about Toastmasters, but that is really going to help them. For example, when I was the Impacts Event Chair, we actually had 2 job fairs. One was canceled because of lack of audience, but the other one happened. And it was a tremendous success. Toastmasters were speaking about how to get jobs, how to prepare to deal with conflicts at the workplace, which really helped. That really helped. And we got 2 members out of it. So you'd be surprised what an event like that can do. And I think if we start to do that in the community, I really think we're going to increase our membership. But we have to get out there, and we have to have members that are willing to be the Impacts Event Chair in Phoenix, one that's in Tucson, one that's going to be in New Mexico, one that's going to be in Texas. So I'm really looking to revamp that role, because I think it was a great role. And this time we have an advantage. We don't have COVID. COVID's still around, but not like it used to be, not as bad. People can now go out in public. So we can really do wonders with that role. I really believe that. And that's what I plan to do as Club Growth Director. Next question.
Randy, we're approaching the end of our time together. You mentioned that you would like to do a closing statement. I'll give you the 2 minutes to do that now.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. I love Toastmasters. From the moment I walked into my first meeting, I was hooked. I saw people speaking, I saw people leading, and I said I want to be a part of this organization. For 15 years, this organization, Toastmasters District 3, has been a big part of my life, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. The reason that I'm running for Club Growth Director, because this district gave me an opportunity to be an area director, to be a division director, to be DCP chair, DTM chair, and now I've had the opportunity to be Pathways Educational Chair, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. And it wouldn't happen without District 3. District 3 has given me so much that I want to give back. When I see someone in District 3 give their icebreaker for the first time in their club, I am inspired. When I see someone take on a leadership role, like an area directorship, a division directorship, or even being a club officer, I'm inspired. When I see a new charter club that's developed and those members have that moment when they realize that they're part of Toastmasters International, I am inspired. I am inspired by District 3 members, because we're always willing to help each other, extend our hand, and come up with creative new ideas. Vote for me for Club Growth Director so that we can work together in growing this district. This is District 3 Toastmasters, the best district in the world, and this is an opportunity for us to speak, to lead, and to grow District 3 Toastmasters. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy, for participating in today's Candidate Showcase and for thoughtfully responding to the questions submitted by our members.
Okay.
Welcome, Ashley. Would you like to provide an opening statement, a closing statement, or no statement, and just jump into the questions?
Good evening, Tim. I would like to provide a closing statement.
Excellent. We'll account for that in your interview. When considering the Club Growth Director role, what responsibilities do you see as the most critical, and how will you ensure sustained focus and follow through throughout the year?
That is a great question. May I please have the first question? I'll provide that answer. And then please ask me the second question, and I'll provide that answer.
Sure. When considering the Club Growth Director role, what responsibilities do you see as most critical?
Thank you for that question, Tim. In the Club Growth Director role, the areas of focus I see as most critical is about not just growing new clubs, but about building clubs that last by strengthening the member experience, by developing our leaders, and by expansion into various communities. That concludes my answer to the first part. I'm ready for the second question.
How will you ensure sustained focus and follow through throughout the year?
In my role in sustaining the focus and follow through comes from the level of discipline I carry around my time. As a Toastmaster for a decade now, I've learned I have a lot of hands in many different pots. And in order to provide a certain standard in which I like to provide in all of my efforts in Toastmasters, it requires me to remain focused on the bigger picture and breaking down that bigger picture into prioritized, manageable steps. So through the discipline of my time and a lot of the planning strategies I have learned in order to manage my time is how I plan to maintain focus on my prioritized objectives, as well as the time it will take for me to accomplish them. Thank you, Tim.
How do you seek guidance or mentorship in your leadership journey, and how do you handle situations where you receive differing advice?
I reach out for mentorship or assistance very easily by asking for help. I have a lot of amazing Toastmasters around me who have paved the way, if you will, for younger Toastmasters like myself as I rise into leadership. I feel very fortunate for that community, and I feel very fortunate to feel supported by such a community that allows me the space to ask for what I need. So I definitely live and die by the adage of, I'm not too proud to beg. I'm not. I'm not too proud to ask. I'm not too proud to reach out, especially when it's needed. And I find that that is a part of the leadership journey. It's a part of the learning as well as I grow into different spaces in my Toastmasters journey.
Which leadership strength do you believe will be the most valuable in the Club Growth Director role, and how will you use it to serve the needs of District 3 members?
Would you please repeat the question, Tim?
Certainly. Which leadership strength do you believe will be most valuable in the Club Growth Director role, and how will you use it to serve the needs of District 3 members?
The biggest or the most critical leadership aspect, if you will, in the club growth director role, I believe, is by being people-centered and, to that point, development focused. So we are in an organization where leaders are made. That is our tagline, where leaders are made. And in order to develop those leaders, you need to be able to see them as people first. Okay, so we don't see clubs as just these entities and numbers on a dashboard. It's important to be focused on the amount of clubs and the number of them at that. However, these are clubs that aren't just comprised of members, but these members are people. And my leadership style is very people-centered, and it's also very development focused. So when I'm club growth director, I believe in meeting people where they are, meeting clubs where they are, building trust, and equipping our members with the tools to succeed. So that's very much a large part of my identity as a leader, by being person first. I like to lead by creating clarity and providing support, providing access to additional resources, and then also empowering others to take ownership in that process, to take ownership in leadership. Thank you, Tim.
Effective district leadership requires clear and timely communication. How do you plan to use different communication channels, such as email, phone, or virtual platforms, to stay connected with District 3 members? I'll repeat the question.
Thank you.
Effective district leadership requires clear and timely communication. How do you plan to use different communication channels, such as email, phone, or virtual platforms, to stay connected with District 3 members?
Thank you, Tim. I will utilize communication channels and platforms very consistently and clearly. I am not only a visual learner, but I am very much so one who thrives in many a modality of communication. Moreover, I believe in transparent communication. So that entails regular touch points with the district, just filling people in on what is happening. What are we doing here? I plan to do that with members and leaders alike, as well as making sure that expectations and resources are easy to understand and accessible. Okay, I don't intend to be this magical cloaked figure in the night and dropping in from time to time. I plan to communicate consistently and quite clearly, and that goes on all levels of the district here.
District leaders play a key role in building leadership capability. What approaches will you use to identify, mentor, and encourage members to pursue leadership opportunities? I'll repeat the question. District leaders play a key role in building leadership capability. What approaches will you use to identify, mentor, and encourage members to pursue leadership opportunities?
In essence, I plan to develop future leaders and at least entice future leaders into furthering their leadership roles by being intentional about mentorship and being intentional about exposure, especially through a lot of the initiatives I envision taking on in the club growth director role. I really want to create more opportunities for emerging leaders to have more exposure into the district and what we're doing prior to maybe taking on those roles. And in essence, this really just sums up what mentorship is. And I feel like mentorship is becoming a bit of a lost art in Toastmasters. Sometimes it can seem like it's a bit transactional. You go to a club meeting, you sit and you speak at your meetings, you go through the whole foundational rigmarole of it, but then by the end of it, it's kind of like, see ya. and not really too much opportunity to really sit and get to know people. Okay. And I'm very keen, as I mentioned, with being person-centered, person first. So by creating additional opportunities outside of the club level, but at a district level, to create more of a space for mentorship to occur is how I envision developing future leaders and encouraging younger leaders to take on additional leadership roles by, in essence, showing and telling a bit before you have to take on that commitment, taking a younger leader by the hand and showing them the ropes, if you will. And it doesn't only take one person to do this. I don't plan on it being me, the club growth director mentor of District 3, not at all. But through additional training opportunities, events that are non-club events designed to not only add value as a Toastmaster or add value as a professional, I envision these opportunities and events to be spaces in which younger leaders feel more comfortable about leadership. And it provides more seasoned leaders the opportunity to get back into that great art of mentorship.
If elected, what do you anticipate will be the most significant challenge in the club growth director role, and how do you plan to address it? I'll repeat the question. If elected, what do you anticipate will be the most significant challenge in the club growth director role, and how do you plan to address it?
Thank you for that question, Tim. Greatest challenge I anticipate in the club growth director role is by balancing the pressure to grow. It's all in the title of the position, club growth director, right? So balancing that pressure to grow, but also with the need, not just my desire for, but the actual need for sustainability. Okay. My approach with this is to stay grounded in the long-term impact, which is building clubs that are supported and actually positioned for success. Okay. This is where one of my greatest visions involving sustainability centers around not just building clubs, about building clubs that last. I'm not interested in building clubs for them to be folded in 1 to 2 years. I'm interested in equipping our current leaders with the resources and tools that they need in order to go and identify additional opportunities for clubs, but also being equipped with the ability to know, is that a viable opportunity? What are the needs of this club? What are the overall objectives that this club is trying to fulfill within their community, within their corporation, or in any other space? And what do we need to do as a district in order to help sustain? Okay, so again, that is, to me, going to be the greatest challenge, just balancing that need to charter new clubs, but also balance that with chartering sustainable clubs and equipping them with the tools and the resources they need to remain clubs.
Okay. Ashley, we're at the point of our time together where it's your opportunity to give us your no longer than 2-minute closing statement.
Thank you, Tim. As I mentioned before, my vision for club growth is to build clubs that last. Over my past decade in Toastmasters, I've seen that growth isn't just about opening new clubs. It's about creating strong, sustainable environments where members feel supported, connected, and inspired to stay and to lead. I see this happening in 3 key ways. First, through intentional expansion. I want to focus on building community-based clubs, especially in spaces where we can make a meaningful impact. This includes underserved populations and initiatives such as our prison partnerships, which very much so exist in the Toastmasters world. I believe that growth should expand access and not just numbers. Secondly, through leader development. Sustainable growth happens at the local level, so I want to also regularly train and equip our area and division directors with practical strategies to help identify opportunities for club growth and empower them to bring that knowledge back to their clubs. And lastly, I am keen on strengthening the member experience. I firmly believe that growth is great, but retention fuels growth. When members are developing real world skills and feel that sense of belonging, that's when clubs thrive. And I see a lot of that member experience, not just being a wonderful post toast or a cocktail hour. I see that as additional hands-on training in areas such as vocational development. Perhaps that is with sales and negotiation, so on and so forth. I really want to introduce these opportunities for enhanced connection and belonging, especially as we open up our district borders to Yuma, Southern New Mexico, and El Paso. I want our newest District 3 members to also feel that sense of belonging on a larger level. At the end of the day, my approach is very simple. Growth is not just about opening clubs, it's about building clubs that last. I thank you so much for your consideration and your support of my candidacy for District 3 Club Growth Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley, for participating in today's Candidate Showcase and thoughtfully responding to the questions submitted by our members.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Randy, Ashley, can you come on video for me, please? Outstanding. I want to thank you both for stepping forward and stepping up to be Club Growth Director candidates. Regardless of the outcome of the election in a couple of weeks, our district's in very great hands, and you two have such a bright future in our organization. Thank you so much for stepping forward and being willing to serve our members this year.
Thank you, Tim.
All right.
Thank you.
For the Office of Program Quality Director, Pathways Level 5, Chad Reed has been nominated. Welcome, Chad.
Hey, Tim. Hey, everyone.
Would you like to provide an opening statement, a closing statement, or no statement, and just jump into questions?
Opening statement, please.
Go ahead.
Ron and Pauline. It was 2002, and I stepped into my first Toastmasters club, Paradise Toastmasters. I didn't know it at the time, but it was a struggling club. I was probably the 8th member that kept them open. But Ron and Pauline never let me feel like it was a small club. Even though I was a young 20-something, Ron was a retired minister. Pauline was a senior hospital administrator at Chippewa Army Medical Center. They impressed me, and they changed the course of my life because these two individuals took me in to help me become a better communicator and a better leader, and they never asked me for anything in return. And they mentored me and they helped me for years in District 49 in Honolulu. I'm not here just to check a box. I'm here because I believe in the program. I love working with all of you, with all of the Toastmasters. I see so many familiar faces that are on this call. I also want to increase my own skills, of course, but I'm here because I value the program. I value what we have all put into it, and I wanted to make sure that this organization stays viable and exists into the future. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Chad. Chad, when considering the Program Quality Director position, what responsibilities do you see as most critical, and how will you ensure sustained focus and follow through on these throughout the year? I'll repeat the question. When considering the program quality director position, what responsibilities do you see as the most critical, and how will you ensure sustained focus and follow through on these throughout the year?
Thank you, Tim. So the responsibilities of program quality director, as I see it, there's many different moving pieces. Number one, TLI, making sure that all of the officers are getting trained. Number two, having a good conference. Number three, having the name escapes me, but it's our celebration event at the end of the year, the Toasties. So those are the activities that, as a program quality director, that I'm directly responsible for. But as part of the education and training and in line with the mission, it's my responsibility to make sure that the rules and procedures of Toastmasters are being followed, but that we're also working with the members and helping them with their education and leadership training. Now, the way that I intend to do that is by building a successful team of hopefully many experienced Toastmasters who are on this call right now. I'll be calling to work with me to help make sure that we are having a successful year in terms of the education and training and in making this year a success from a program quality perspective. And it'll be the team that'll help me to keep the sustained focus, throughout the year, and to work with clubs that are in need, either through mentorship, doing a moments of truth for the clubs, or other things that they may need to help them be successful from an education and leadership perspective. Next question, Tim.
How do you seek guidance or mentorship in your leadership journey, and how do you handle situations where you receive differing advice? I'll repeat the question. How do you seek guidance or mentorship in your leadership journey, and how do you handle situations where you receive differing advice?
So I have several avenues of mentorship. So now, of course, there's always the Toastmasters members that we all love and respect. Tim is one of them. The Nancy Stark Cassidys, the Rose Swearengens, all of the people that we usually go to and talk to whenever we need to know something about Toastmasters. So I have all of those avenues, and Rose is a mentor of mine as well, Rose Swearingen. What I have tried to do this year, what I have done is I've opened myself up to additional mentors. Someone that I just contacted to be a mentor, Michael Desiderio. And the reason is Michael Desiderio leads a nonprofit organization outside of Toastmasters. And although he doesn't get as involved with the district leadership, I want him to mentor me because I want to understand struggles of similar nonprofit organizations, but that doesn't necessarily have a Toastmasters bent. Now, I'm also lucky because I am a Rotary member. Rotary actually has what's called a Rotary Leadership Academy, which I joined or whenever I started my club growth director role. And what that is, it's a team of about 8 to 10 Rotarians. We all meet every 3 weeks and we talk about leadership challenges. And one of the great things for me, Rotary and Toastmasters are very similar organizations, but the people that are in more mentorship group in my leadership academy, none of them know any Toastmasters. So, and they don't know anything directly about Toastmasters. So again, it makes it a different perspective in terms of mentorship and in terms of learning. Whenever it comes to different opinions, I am very much a collaborator. I know probably almost everyone that's on this Zoom call right now has gotten a phone call from me at one point in time or another, both reaching out to my official mentors, reaching out to my Rotary team, reaching out to just individuals. The way that I handle those situations is that I talk to everyone and I try to figure out what the consensus is. There's been many of occasions where I've brought stuff up about Toastmasters, things that I wanted to do, but after putting it through the Toastmasters telephone tree, as well as Rotary, I come back and it's like, hey, maybe this is not the best way to handle it. So my style is to collaborate. My style is to pick up the phone. My style is to talk to people. Next question, Tim.
District leaders play a key role in building leadership capability. What approaches will you use to identify, mentor, and encourage members to pursue leadership opportunities? Let me repeat the question. District leaders play a key role in building leadership capability. What approaches will you use to identify, mentor, and encourage members to pursue leadership opportunities?
So this is actually something that I think Rotary has a leg up on Toastmasters on. In Rotary, it's expected that it's not official, but it's expected that what would be the equivalent of their trio line goes out, each member, and visits every single club in that district every single year. So it's not a requirement, but it's something that's just something that Rotary has typically done. So that was something that I learned through my Rotary experience with my Rotary mentors. And that's one of the reasons that I have been out to El Paso. I've been to El Paso twice. I have a meeting next week in Flagstaff where I'm going to drive up and I'm going to talk to the Flagstaff clubs and see right now from a club growth perspective, but also from a program quality perspective, what can we do with some of these clubs that are in some of these communities that are outside of Phoenix, and of course Tucson as well. I'm always down in Tucson. Randy and I have logged many an hour at events down there. For me, it's getting out and actually talking to the members face to face and having a conversation and encouraging them to be leaders. Cynthia talked about earlier how it was someone who tapped her on the shoulder. I want to take a page out of Rotary's book, and I can't promise to visit every club in our district. We have quite a few more, and our geographical area is too big. But one of the things that I want to do next year, and actually starting now, is going out and visiting more clubs, identifying people, tapping them on the shoulder, and then encouraging them to get involved in district leadership. And sometimes it isn't until we go out and we talk to people face to face and we build that connection with those individuals. It's a lot of times it's not until we do that that people are willing to step forward and be mentors. So in learning from my mentors at Rotary, that's something that they've done that I think they do a better job than Toastmasters at. And that's one of the things that I want to implement. Next question, Tim.
What strength do you bring that will make a meaningful difference in District 3? And how will that strength translate into action? I'll repeat the question. What strength do you bring that will make a meaningful difference in District 3? And how will that strength translate into action?
So I'm actually going to say two things on that. So number one is my charisma for Toastmasters. If you haven't noticed, I'm very passionate about Toastmasters. And I think by getting out and talking to clubs, and just by being a presence, sometimes just by sitting down and talking to people, going out and visiting some of these clubs where a member has never done pathways in the entire history of the club, stepping into that environment where it might not be so comfortable and the people might not be so pleasant. So I'm using my charisma as one to go out and spread the message and spread the joy of Toastmasters. Now, the second thing, I have to mention it because I have a very heavy technology background. And like it or not, with Toastmasters, we're in a period with artificial intelligence and the creep in of technology. And the reality is that these technologies are going to become more commonplace. And kind of like before COVID, how everyone said we will never, ever, ever have Zoom or online meetings. I think people who are saying we'll never, ever have, AI speeches or AI using AI to deliver speeches or give speeches. I think that's going to change. My technology background puts me in a unique place where I have a much better understanding of some of these topics, both from an ethical perspective as well as from a leadership perspective. And I want to, as Toastmasters starts to explore these other ways of giving speeches, and they're going to have to, I want to hopefully be able to use my experience to help drive some of the successes. District 3 has always been a trendsetter, whether it's the online TLI, there's plenty of other things where Toastmasters looks to us to help them and to set the trend. So I'm hoping that my technology expertise will help me to do better as a program quality director just by being on top of some of the evolving technologies around communication and leadership. Next question, Tim.
Chad, as program quality director, how do you approach communication with members, leaders, and stakeholders? How do you decide which communication methods to use in different situations? Let me repeat the question. As program quality director, how do you approach communication with members, leaders, and stakeholders? How do you decide which communication methods to use in different situations?
So from a communication strategy perspective, obviously, as I've mentioned, I want to be out front. I want to be meeting with people. I want to be visiting clubs. I fully realize that is not possible to meet every single person in this district or to attend to every single club. I want to try to make a better connection with the members by going out and shaking their hand and saying hi and talking to them. So that's my overall strategy from a program quality director in terms of getting the members to know more about the district and know about me. But also, we're going to have to obviously use email a lot from a practical perspective, especially when you're talking about things like TLI, conference, etc. From a leadership perspective, then something that we already do is the area director training, which I'm quite fond of, where we bring in the area directors, division directors, area directors, and division directors. I think it was Jill that put this program this year together, and she did a really great job of getting people involved, getting people there. So I want to continue to use those meetings to talk with the leaders that are in our organization. I'm also, in terms of stakeholders, with, for example, some of the individuals, past district leaders, and individuals like that who might not be in the forefront of the leadership roles. We have things like the past district leaders meeting where we can talk amongst ourselves and strategize different ideas among PDLs. So that's something that I've always valued a lot, talking to the PDLs. So I think that's the best medium for that. For the leaders, it's the area directors. For the members, it's going out shaking their hands and emails. Unfortunately, lots of emails to advertise about the events. Next question, Tim.
And this will be your last question, Chad. What do you anticipate will be the most significant challenge in the program quality director role, and how do you plan to address it? What do you anticipate will be the most significant challenge in the program quality director role, and how do you plan to address it?
So we already know what it is. I think it's already on the tip of their tongue. It's getting broader pathways adoption. Now, I just went back and double checked at the email to make sure the dates lined up. So now I can talk about this. One of the things that I'd like to try going out and visiting some of these clubs, for example, have low pathways participation or no pathways participation. For those of you that might have missed it, last week, Toastmasters held a webinar and they said that the information could be released on April 3rd. I'm double checking the date. Yep, April 3rd. So they now have a legacy pass or vintage pass. So some of the competent communicators, some of the advanced manuals are going to be coming back in a very, very limited form. Given some of the resistance toward pathways, I want to go out and talk to some of these clubs and be like, hey, consider using some of these vintage paths, or maybe doing some of these vintage paths. If a lot, I know some individuals, the reason they don't want to do pathways, they thought that this material was far superior. So I'm hoping that that helps to open some conversation and to build some rapport with some of these members who have never done pathways or are not fond of pathways, to hopefully leverage that to try to reduce resistance. Now, of course, with the vintage pass, if I remember the call correctly, you must complete a level 1 and at least one non-vintage path. So I'm hoping by using that right now that we can have some conversations with these individuals, have some conversations with these clubs, and let's see where it goes. Let's see if we can reduce some of this resistance and get people on board. So I'm hopeful.
Well, Chad, I appreciate you participating in the showcase this evening.
Glad to
It's
be here.
nice to see another brother of the Dome in district leadership. I had hair when I started in district leadership. The fact that I don't have any now, I don't know. We also appreciate your thoughtful responses to the questions submitted by our members. Thank you so much for your service and for continuing to serve in our trio through next year.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everyone.
Finally, for the office of District Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Jill Kipnis has been nominated.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Jill. We saved you for last.
Excellent.
She was probably hoping that we hit 8 p.m. and just be done. And
yeah. Maybe.
Jill, would you like to provide an opening statement, a closing statement, or no statement, and just jump into questions?
I would like to provide an opening statement, please.
Have at it, friend.
Good evening, District 3 Toastmasters. It is an honor to be nominated for this position of District Director. My goal for the 2026-2027 year is for our district to be a distinguished district. It has been more than 10 years since we've had this honor, and if it doesn't happen this year, then next year is our year. District 3 is on the forefront of so many things. We're one of maybe 3 districts that have on-demand TLI. We were one of the first districts to implement contest days after we heard how well it was going in another district. And District 3 was in phase 1 of the district realignment project. Other districts look to us to see how things should happen. So it is time that we are a distinguished district once again. How will this happen? The district leadership team and I will recruit, train, and support area directors and committee chairs who share this vision and who can lead their teams successfully and assist us in achieving this goal. I bring with me 30 years of experience in building and working with teams of volunteers who work together to achieve a common goal through my years with Toastmasters and the Junior League of Phoenix. I was president of the Junior League Toastmasters Club in 2020-2021. Early on, we realized we were going to need to do things differently in the COVID year to achieve our goals. And together, our club members made the necessary adjustments, and we were President's Distinguished Club that year, having achieved all 10 DCP goals. Toastmasters is a membership-based organization, and we are nothing without our members. My team and I will make sure that our club officers and members have the information, resources, and support they need to reach their Toastmasters goals. Because as our members succeed, we all succeed, and success is being a distinguished district. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. All right, take a deep breath. Here we go. We just have 7 of these, right?
Okay.
When considering the district director position, what responsibilities do you see as most critical, and how will you ensure sustained focus and follow through on these throughout the year? I'll repeat the question. When considering the district director position, what responsibilities do you see as the most critical, and how will you ensure sustained focus and follow through on these throughout the year?
The role of the district director is really making sure that the trains run on time, that everybody else is doing what they have signed up to do and set out to do to achieve the goals and the charge of their positions. It is important, as I said, to build a team of people that we can trust and that we can be assured will do those roles, but it is the role of the district director to make sure that that happens. To assure that happens is going to be checking in, whether it's at the area and division director trainings, as we talk with our area and division directors on how things are going with their clubs and their members, whether it's at the trio meetings with the program quality director and the club growth director, setting goals early on and making sure that those goals are being set, milestones are being met, and we will achieve our goals. So that is really how I see the role of the district director. Next question.
Jill, how do you incorporate mentorship or advisory input when making district level decisions, especially when perspectives differ? I'll repeat the question. How do you incorporate mentorship or advisory input when making district level decisions, especially when perspectives differ?
Institutional knowledge is very important, and it's really wonderful that District 3 has so many past district leaders who continue to be involved at not only the club level, but also at the district level to support the trios and our committees. So going to them with issues and problems is going to be definitely important for me to do as I work through some of the things that are going to be coming up. However, every year is different. We are a different district than we were a year ago because we brought on New Mexico and El Paso. Next year is different because we're bringing on the Yuma clubs. So even though people have served in these roles in the past and their guidance and advice is necessary, things change. The district has changed. And so it's going to be important for me to choose the path and the decision that is best for the district at this time. Next question.
What lessons from your cumulative experience as a trio officer have helped shape your leadership philosophy, and how would you carry those lessons forward? I'll repeat the question. What lessons from your cumulative experience as a trio officer have helped shape your leadership philosophy, and how would you carry those lessons forward?
The two previous roles are just so different from each other, but they both hold such an important place in how the district runs and really how Toastmasters as a whole runs. As club growth director, I had the opportunity to meet other people, people who are interested in building clubs, getting them to it's all completing the paperwork. So completing the paperwork, setting them up with sponsors and mentors so they can be successful clubs. So my leadership experience there was really just working with them, constant communication, checking in with people. That's really the big piece of leadership as a whole, is just making sure that people have the tools, the tricks, the knowledge, the resources that they need to make a sound decision. As program quality director, I do come into this role with more event planning experience than I did club building experience. But that role is also really important because they are big events and it's important to delegate. As program quality director, we cannot do it all by ourselves. We really do none of it by ourselves, especially if we have built good teams with strong committee chairs and strong committee members. So I come to this and will share this information and my experiences with the incoming program quality director and the incoming club growth director, because both of these positions have been great opportunities for me. I've enjoyed both of them greatly, and I enjoy continuing that work with them next year. Next question.
Jill, how do you plan to create an environment where members feel supported and motivated to take on leadership roles at the club, area, division, or district level? I'll repeat the question. How do you plan to create an environment where members feel supported and motivated to take on leadership roles at the club, area, division, or district level?
I was a young leader once, and someone saw something in me that I didn't see in myself and asked me to become a leader in the Junior League of Phoenix. I took those skills, again, spent 30 years as an active member of the Junior League of Phoenix, and came to Toastmasters and brought those skills with me. I grew through club leadership, having served as membership VP, president, of course, past president, and then multiple roles in the district, on the district level. So it's finding people, recognizing their skills, and maybe district leadership isn't right for everyone, and it might not be right for that one person this year, but is it going to be right for them someday? I've already talked to the incoming division directors, and I'd really like to see us target our distinguished clubs and see who in our distinguished clubs would be interested in stepping up and being an area director. They've already seen success. They have brought their success to their clubs, and can they bring that success to other clubs in their areas? So that is part of my goal is to, make sure that we have area directors who are strong, who support Toastmasters, who can support other clubs and bring clubs to success. So I believe that my past experiences help me share those experiences and that experience. And I think just asking people, sometimes they don't like to raise their hands. People are shy. Many of us joined this organization because we didn't like talking in public. So we may not be yet ready to raise our hand and say, hey, look at me, I'm ready to be a leader. But if we go to them and say, hey, we think you'd be a great club officer, area director, moving forward, division, trio member, sometimes that'll motivate people to move in that direction. Next question.
District leadership often involves navigating complex challenges. What challenge do you believe will require the most attention as our district director, and how will you manage it effectively? I'll repeat the question. District leadership often involves navigating complex challenges. What challenge do you believe will require the most attention as our district director, and how will you manage it effectively?
It has already been mentioned, but an area of concern, an area we do need to focus on is retaining our members. And so therefore, working with the club growth director, working with the division directors, working with the area directors, and making sure that they are in contact with our clubs. Because again, we're a membership-based organization. If we don't have members, we're just leading ourselves. So we do need members, and we need to retain the members that we have. It's easier to grow clubs if clubs look and are large and exciting and people want to join them. So retention is definitely a concern and definitely a place where I feel that focus is going to be next year. And again, with the help of and the leadership from the club growth director, the area directors, and the division directors, I hope that we can strengthen the retention of our members. Next question.
What is your approach to collaborative decision-making, and how does it align with Toastmasters' values? I'll repeat the question. What is your approach to collaborative decision-making, and how does it align with Toastmasters' values?
I believe strongly in collaborative decision-making because if people aren't on board with the decision that is made, then nothing is going to move forward. That person could be a roadblock. That person could be a huge hindrance. That person could go out and just bad talk everything that we're doing. And we can't move forward and we can't be successful if we have one of our own not being a part of the team and not believing in what the team wants to do. My thought and my goal and something I want to do is I want to start meeting with the division directors and the trio members early, have a retreat, making sure that we are all on the same page when it comes to being a distinguished district. Because if people don't believe it and people don't want to do it, then it's not going to happen. It really doesn't matter how often I say it. If people don't want for us to succeed in that way, then it just won't happen. So again, it's just really important to have collaboration, make sure everyone is on the same page, and that if there is some disagreement, and sometimes that there is, but when we close the door behind us and we walk out into the public, we all have the same, we're all in agreement, no matter how we to feel about it. Can you repeat the second half of that question? I apologize.
Sure. How does it align with Toastmasters' values?
Respect, right? We respect each other's opinions. We respect how others feel, and we respect how we can help other people help as we make decisions and how we move forward. So I really think it's all of them, but I think respect first and foremost is making sure that if there is someone who disagrees, that their opinion is respected, they feel respected, and they are ready to move forward, even if there is a disagreement in a decision. Next question.
This will be your last question. And you've already touched on, I think, just about all of this, what I'd expect to hear in your response already. but I want to ask it explicitly. People want to hear it from you. So as district director, what is your vision for District 3 in the coming year, and what key priorities will guide your leadership? I'll repeat the question because I want to be consistent. As district director, what is your vision for District 3 in the coming year, and what key priorities will guide your leadership?
District 3 needs to be a distinguished district. Again, we've had all these other successes and leading the pack in so many things that other districts are interested in learning and finding more out about, and we're already doing them, but we're not a distinguished district. What we need to do and the goals we need to set early on is how we are going to get there. It is building a team of people who want to help us get there. It is growing that kind of family unit to make sure that we all are on the same team and we all want the same thing. And then moving forward and doing it. It's making sure that the area directors are reaching out to their clubs to make sure that they are aware of what's going on, that TLI is happening, that we need, do you need one more person to go? Do you need 4 more people to go? Is that then we just move on through the year, get people involved in conference, get people involved in contests, growing our clubs, retaining our members, dues periods, so important. We can't, as someone once said, we can't renew a member in March if they didn't renew in September. And so we need to make sure that we are aware of where our clubs are, that those under 8 clubs are feeling supported as well, and that we are working with them so they are no longer under 8 clubs, that our clubs that need coaches have the support that they need so they can move forward, and that we are growing clubs and we are sharing the Toastmasters values and mission to help others become better communicators, better speakers, and better leaders. So my goal is a distinguished district, and I do hope that the rest of the district is on board with that with me. Back, next question.
Well, Jill, I'm on board with you.
Thank you.
And well, I appreciate you. You waited so long and so patiently so that we could hear from all the other candidates. You've done a lot in your 2 years of service. As someone who is a past district leader, I'm proud for you to take on the stewardship of our district next year and completely believe in your ability to be successful. Thank you for participating in today's showcase. Thank you for being patient while we work through all the other candidates. And thank you so much for your thoughtful response and servant leadership to our members.
Thank you.
Brent, we appreciate you attending this evening's showcase, supporting our candidates, and for being engaged members of District 3. We look forward to seeing you at the council meeting, just like Peter said, on April the 18th, and to another successful year of Toastmasters leadership. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, everyone. Cheers.